On today's episode of Lockdown NHL, who would you rather have in a fight? A rat or the volleyball from Castaway?
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. We are your team each and every day, and we are your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com, and you could win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's episode of Locked On NHL, we talk about some massive injury news for the Vegas Golden Knights. As Mark Stone, he's going to be out week to week. We'll also talk about a couple of recent big hit type plays from Brad Marchand, the Rat, or Tom Wilson, who I affectionately called the volleyball from Castaway. Who would you rather have in a fight? And we'll also take a look at the inaugural list for the 2026 NHL Draft from Central Scouting and some names to keep an eye on. We'll test my knowledge as to prospects. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, joined by JD Young of Locked On Sharks for the Tuesday edition of Locked On NHL. And JD, we drop right in with some big injury news. Does not sound great for the Vegas Golden Knights, as according to reports, Mark Stone will be out of the lineup on a week-to-week basis. This is not anything new for the Vegas Golden Knights. Mark Stone has certainly missed chunks of seasons.
Mm-hmm. And
so now the question becomes, what do they do to replace him in the lineup? Thompson, come on, or McDavid, come on down. Who do they get to replace him?
They already got their replacements this off season. This team, though, is built to just kind of go through this, and the way that they've been playing so far this year, I'm actually not worried about this at all. Like you said, right? We have an annual Mark Stone gets injured. It just usually comes a little bit later in the season, a little early this year. A little that injury bug hit a little early this year for Mark Stone. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Golden Knights and their ability to continue to be one of the best teams in the NHL because at least when it comes to their skaters. We'll talk about the goalies here in just a second. But the way that Eichel has started this season, right, with 15 points in 6 games before tonight's game, before Monday night's game, Mitch Marner, who, of course, they traded for this offseason, like that's your Mark Stone insurance right there is Mitch Marner. You have Dorofeev, who can, put the puck in the back of the net. You have Hurdle, who kind of feels like he's like almost in like a reduced role, and if he needs to pick up the slack, he could do it. Like this team is just is it's disgusting how many options they have with Mark Stone out of the lineup here. But yeah, I'm not worried. Like if he's back, around Thanksgiving and back to being kind of himself, or like they'll figure out a way. This team is too good. They have too many players. But I think the more worrying news is the Aden Hill news, who left Monday night's game with a lower body injury. Apparently couldn't put any weight on his knee. And this team is a little thin in the goalie department. And I know they have Carter Hart, but he can't play until, December 1st, I believe. You have Akira Schmid, who's, looked good so far this year, but stop me if you heard this before. A Vegas team has had issues with goalies staying healthy.
Yeah, it's a common refrain for the Golden Knights. I would be worried more so, like you said, JD, I'd be worried if this team was struggling to score goals but 26 goals in their first 6 games. Like they are having no problems putting the puck in the net. And even above what Eichel has done, I mean, Stone, like it's certainly a loss. He had 13 points in 6 games, which is absurd.
Yes.
But here are the players that have multiple goals so far for the Golden Knights through the first 6 games. Eichel, Stone, Marner, Dorofeev, Hurdle, Barbashev, Carlson. They all have multiple goals. So this is one of those classic situations of like, we're not going to have one guy fill this spot. We're just going to have a bunch of guys just step up 5%.
Yep.
Or 10%.
Everybody chips in. You can make up for the Mark Stone injury here. And again, like you went out and you got Mitch Marner, and there was the worry like, okay, what's Marner going to do now if he's not going to have, kind of the same opportunities that he was afforded to him with Toronto, right? Marner's getting all, not to say that, Marner's not getting top power play, stuff like that, but like there's plenty of mouths to feed here in Vegas. But now I wonder if the offense maybe kind of flows through Marner a little bit more now with Stone out, and maybe we see Marner kind of have a big stretch here while Mark Stone is out and help him to continue to get acclimated to Vegas here. So that would be my guess. I think Marner is going to kind of be the main guy, but like you said, I mean, they have so many guys here who can. It's like, okay, Hurdle, we need you to kind of chip in a little bit more here. Dorofeev, can you keep scoring a bajillion goals? Like, yeah, this team will be fine when it comes offensively. But yeah, the goaltending does really, really worry me because even behind Schmid, right? You have a Cameron Whitehead, Jesper Wickman, and a Carl Lindbaum as your goalies. Yeah. So I know Whitehead. I know who that. Like I believe he's a Northwestern product, if I recall correctly. But like, these guys are all extremely young. This is I wonder if they're in the market to maybe try to find a replacement for Hill if they think Hill is going to be out for some period of time here, to try to kind of at least give Schmid a little bit of a backup here, and especially again because Carter Hart can't play until December. So, but we don't know. I mean, we could find out come Tuesday afternoon that Aden Hill's okay, and it might be out for a few games here. But when you can't put weight on on your knee, especially as a goalie, that feels kind of bad to me, right?
Yeah, that's not great for a goalie. How about this? There is a name that I'm sure is familiar to many Vegas fans that could be. I mean, they just had him last year.
Okay.
Unless I, for some reason, can't read what Spotrac has available. Is Ilya Samsonov not just sitting there?
Samsonov, I thought you were going to go way back and say call Flower and be like, hey, I know you're retired, but
no.
That's where I thought you were going. But yeah, Samsonov,
Ilya Samsonov's
I know he hasn't signed anywhere. I'm surprised. Like I thought he was going to be signed. Like I made a case for Locked On Sharks. The Sharks should try to sign him as their third goalie to go play in the AHL. And then if you need a guy because somebody gets hurt, but yeah, that would be a good one too. I could see Samsonov. Right, you could probably you don't have to get him new pads. He can just wear that ones he wore last year. I think that would be it could be a nice bridge option, and especially if they're worried about how long Aden Hill could be out. But again, we're speculating right now because there's just no, and of course we know we're not going to get the true answer to what's wrong with him. But I would be. I mean, the problem too is they don't have a lot of cap space either because they're dealing with LTIR stuff and everything like that. So it'll be, I'm curious to see how they kind of navigate. I guess they could use their LTIR and they should be okay. And if they put Aden Hill on LTIR or on, they could probably be able to kind of get by for a little bit here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the market for a goalie here really soon.
According in my best Yoda impression, there is another. Martin Jones isn't doing anything.
He's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah, it fits perfect.
That's perfect. Poor Martin Jones, run into the ground by Pete DeBoer. Yeah, Martin Jones watching Jake Ottinger just be like, that was me once. That was me. Yeah, I'd say that makes a lot of sense. Poor Martin Jones. Go Martin Jones takes in the year of our Lord 2025.
Hey, anytime Martin Jones was playing in net against the Minnesota Wild, I immediately, anytime he faced a shot on goal, I would always say, don't let Martin Jones get hot. Then he'd give up like 3 goals on 4 shots.
Again, Pete DeBoer ran him into the ground. Pete DeBoer ran him into the ground. Actually, there's a really interesting on the Martin Jones thing. That game 1 against Vegas where he gave up 7 goals. Like that was actually like a tipping point in his career. And you can see his basically from that moment on, all of his stats just plummeted from that game 1 against Vegas where he gave up 7. He was never the same guy after that. Like that game broke Martin Jones right there. Anyway, but yeah, Mark Stone also broken.
Pete DeBoer and goalies, man.
Yeah. It's great.
It's too bad. Well, we will skip from basic premise is we feel like Vegas is going to be fine.
Yeah. The goalies were worrisome, I think, than the Stone injury. But they'll be fine.
Let's get into a fight of sorts as to who you would take in a fight. The long tenured bad boy of the NHL, Tom Wilson, or the Rat, Brad Marchand. We'll talk about that as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. For those that took my advice on the Minnesota Vikings, I'm sorry. That did not work out particularly well. So next week, with the Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, maybe just go Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown. Feels like a much safer bet. $5, if that hits, then you win $300 in bonus bets to use for whatever you would like, such as Matt Boldy winning the Hart Trophy. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get things started.
Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougette comes in. Rougette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed medications for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougette makes getting started super easy. You connect with board-certified doctors 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed treatments shipped discreetly straight to your door, the process is fast, simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. Visit Rougette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rougette, stop making excuses. Start making moves.
Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. We are your team each and every day as well. We are your choose your fighter destination each and every day of the week. Long tenured as the enforcer of the NHL, Mr. Tom Wilson. I thought he was fantastic in Castaway, but that's another story for another day. But a new challenger approaches as Brad Marchand. He had himself quite the night the other night. Just got fed up. He had enough. And
did not appreciate the cross check in the back from Dahlin.
No.
Takes him down, starts wailing on him, gets his helmet. I like how he just I don't think he realizes he's holding Dahlin's helmet until he gets to the penalty box and looks down and realizes it's not his, rips the straps off and then throws it back on the ice. And the look on Dahlin's face of what is this guy doing here? $5,000 fine, the most that could be, you and I talked about this before. The Department of Players Safety has literally the easiest job because they just what's the most I could fine you? We're doing that. Actually suspend somebody for literally throwing a tantrum. I've seen my kids do the exact same thing when he didn't get his way. Get into the car, throw something in there. Maybe I should fine him $5,000 for the next time he has a bad soccer game and throws his gear in the car or something like that. Because it was the equivalent of that, of my 7-year-old throwing a tantrum in the car because the game didn't go his way. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the equivalent. And basically, the only thing I can think of is there are obviously other examples, but think about a golfer at a PGA event just hitting a bad shot and picking up somebody's club by mistake and then breaking that club.
And then chucking it into the water hazard. And
the golfer whose club it actually was is just
what the fudge? Except for he didn't say fudge.
What did I do? Yeah. Do we think there will be any additional discipline for this, or simply the 5% credit card transaction?
Beat that bad boy into the rug, move on. Yeah. So, just absolutely wild. And then the Wilson hit, right? And I know it's borderline late. I thought it was late, but I'm always very cautious with these things, right? Especially with guys like Phil Petal, who's had noted concussion history, who's missed a ton of games because of this throughout his career. And then you take into the fact that Tom Wilson, noted goon, who's had 6 suspensions in his career for tomfoolery as well. And nothing, no supplemental action, good clean hit, let's go. Again, the Department of Player Safety, just sweep it under the rug, let's move on, everybody.
The Department of possibly something is
possibly something
is what
spin
I'm
the
going
wheel
to
of
call
punishment.
them. Yeah,
it's one of those things where you see where the guy's got the door stop and he it's and it's just no punishment. It's dead center. That's basically the Department of Player Safety. Yeah,
it's the chart at the eye doctor, except the bottom row, which is the maximum amount possible fine, is the biggest, and the numbers get smaller the higher up you go. I can't read any higher than this, so
it's 2-point font, which is it's just impossible to read. So are you taking the volleyball or the rat?
I don't know,
the actual physical volleyball or the rat. I think not the players, the volleyball or the rat.
The act of removing the straps from someone's helmet is kind of lunatic-y.
Yes.
But I think, Tom Wilson's got a few pounds on Marchand. I think Marchand can certainly hold his own.
Yes.
But you add in the angle of the open ice hit, and I think I would still lean Tom Wilson.
Does the Ratchets chew open the volleyball and get inside? That's my and then he just kind of does the alien chest burster through the actual volleyball. I'm not worried. I don't care about the actual players. I just want to know an actual volleyball versus a rat.
Yeah, this is equal parts perplexing and fascinating.
Yeah, I think Tom Wilson. Tom will like Marchand. Marchand's like the lower weight class. But yeah, Tom Wilson's an absolute maniac, and he's also extremely big too. So yeah,
extremely lunatic behavior.
Extremely lunatic. I would 100% watch though.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We're gonna take a look. Central Scouting has released their initial list of players to keep an eye on. We'll talk you through some of the big names. That is on the way as we finish today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what we're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments is easy to lose track. That can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's great for organizing your accounts. You can track your spending, see where your money is going, better handle on your investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are for nerds. Also, you can review how you're spending with your partner, see shared goals, make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money is going and make it work harder for me. It's like your own personal Puckpedia. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
Final segment of today's edition of Locked On NHL. And once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. We are your team each and every day as well. We are your central scouting player to watch experts. So let's dive into
one of us, I think, more than you.
Yeah.
One of us season's already over.
One of us is still in the throes of a playoff hunt and mediocrity at the same time.
One of us is still looking for that first win of the season. So,
let's just go through some of these names, JD, and you have been as plugged in as anybody as far as the prospects go. So who are some of the names that jump off the list? Obviously, the big prize, or one of the big prizes this year, is Gavin McKenna.
Yes.
But who are some of the other big ones for this upcoming draft?
Let's start with McKenna first, of course, right? Who's kind of the belle of the ball this year, and I think brings a lot of juice to this year's draft. And this draft, like early on right, that's the thing. Like drafts change and how we feel about players, and especially because we're just starting the season. But this draft is kind of reminding me of the Bedard draft, that 2023 draft, where you have the big name and Gavin McKenna, and that's the prize of this year's draft, right? But the players who go right after McKenna, there's some really nice players there, right? You go back to that 2023 draft, you had Leo Carlson, you had Fantilli, you had Will Smith. Like that was a turning, those players are already making their marks in the NHL, like in the, as young budding superstars for these guys. This year's draft, if you need a right-handed defenseman in the top 10, especially if you're a team in San Jose, this is the draft for you. So if you don't get Gavin McKenna, like there is still a lot of excellent players. Kind of the big name after McKenna is one Keaton Verhoff. So Verhoff spent last year playing in the WHL with the Royals. This year, went over it with the new rules where you can play, right? You can bounce between the CHL and the NCAA. Jumped over to play with North Dakota, which is a very fine program, has been a powerhouse for a long time. And he has put up a very good start to his season so far. I think he's got like 3 or 4 points in 5 games with North Dakota. He's 6'3", right-handed shot, smooth skating defenseman, has the looks to be an absolute number one type of player. A little bit bigger than Matthew Schaefer, a little bit more physical than Matthew Schaefer, but still a lot of the same kind of tools as Schaefer that you're seeing from the Isles right now. And he could be a guy who steps into the NHL like right away, especially if he has a great season here in the NCAA and he's already as one of the youngest players. So you have a guy, another WHL guy in Ryan Lynn, who's a little bit smaller at 5'8", offensive dynamo for the Vancouver Giants as well. Those are, kind of some of the, those guys could be like potential top 5 picks there. You have a bunch of other players here, like Daxon Rudolph, who's another defenseman, right-handed shot from Prince Albert, 6'2". I just talked to his teammate Max Heisey, who was just on Locked On Sharks. I'm gonna plug that here right now as well. He raved about Rudolph and just how great of a player he is. This draft is if you get a top 10 pick in this year's draft, you're probably going to have a really good time with the player that you're going to be picking here. I also like Tynan Lawrence, who's playing with the Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL. 6'1". He's about 6'1.5", 6'1" center. He's got all the skill in the world as well. There's a lot of fun players in this year's draft. And again, if you get a top 10 pick, you're probably going to have a pretty good time with it.
Now, in addition to, say, the top 10, I know last year's draft was considered pretty top heavy.
Yes.
Are we more towards that, or are we more towards the draft of a couple years ago that was just, crazy deep that, if you get a first round pick or even like a second round pick, you feel like you're in a pretty good spot to land a major impact player?
I think this year's draft is going to be a deeper class too. It still depends because we're still so early into the season, and the things change so quickly, and guys will come and guys will fall apart and stuff. But I think once we kind of get to World Juniors, we'll probably have a little bit better. As my dog is not choking on the couch right here, we'll have a little bit better kind of sense of the depth of this draft. But I still think having a first round pick, I think it's going to be, if you're having a first round pick this year or multiple first round picks, I think you're going to feel a lot better about it than you did, especially this 2025 draft. And you heard a lot of GMs, even last year's trade deadline, right? They didn't want to give up their 2026 first round picks unless they really, really had to. They felt like it was, going to be a late first round pick because they knew, I think this year's draft class, you're going to be able to get some key players, even a little bit further down the lineup right now. And I think as, trying to count really quickly, it looks like, as of right now, and this can change, but they have about 20 or so players with an A grade rating, from Central Scouting, and this will change throughout. These are all kind of first round candidates, and then their B level, which is second or third level. It's, there's probably 30 or 40 type of players there. So it does feel like you can still get good players late first round, second, even third round in this year's draft. So.
And if you're in the market for a goalie, a couple of options in the B tier, and the B tier is second/third round, somewhere in that general range. Harrison Bediger is one option. And the other route that you could go as far as the goalies are concerned is Zachary Jovanovski. 2 options right there.
Two options
depending
right
on
there.
if you want size or if you want other things.
Our goalie breakdowns of third round goalies is going to be riveting here soon. So yes, 100%. Go check out Locked On NHL Prospects. This is what they do over there. So much better at this than we are.
yeah, we stick to our lane. We stay in our lane. We stick to Cam Fowler praise.
Cam Fowler.
And
if
breakdowns.
Rats and volleyballs, who would win in a fight?
Well said. Or as I prefer, the rum ham spin on that, but that's another story for another day. That'll do it for today's episode of Locked On NHL. We appreciate you joining us here for today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.